The night sky over the Hidden Leaf Village was stained crimson, the full moon weeping trails of blood that streaked across the heavens like jagged scars. Beneath its eerie glow, Naruto Uzumaki stood atop the Hokage monument, his cerulean eyes narrowed in defiance, his orange jacket flapping against the wind. The air hummed with an oppressive chakra, thick enough to choke on, as the infinite Tsukuyomi's illusion threatened to consume the world. Beside him, Sasuke Uchiha adjusted his grip on the Kusanagi sword, his Sharingan spinning ominously. "This isn't just an illusion," he muttered, his voice edged with tension. Madara's cast the world into a waking nightmare. Naruto clenched his fists, feeling the familiar surge of Kurama's chakra coursing through him. Golden flames flickered to life around his body, his whisker marks darkening as he tapped into the Nine Tails' power. "Then we break it," he declared, his voice unwavering. "No way I'm letting everyone rot in some dream while that bastard pulls the strings." A gust of wind howled as a figure descended before them, Obito Uchiha, his mask cracked, revealing the single Rinnegan burning in his socket. "You're too late," he intoned, his voice hollow. "The moon's eye plan is already in motion. The world will know peace, even if it's a lie." Sasuke scoffed, his Sharingan morphing into the eternal Mangekyo. "Peace built on deception is worthless." In an instant, he vanished, reappearing behind Obito with his sword arcing toward his neck. But Obito phased through the strike, his body turning intangible as the blade passed harmlessly through him. Naruto didn't hesitate. He launched himself forward, a Rasengan swirling in his palm, its energy distorting the air. "You're not getting away with this," he roared, slamming the jutsu toward Obito's chest. But Obito countered, his Rinnegan flaring as he summoned a black receiver rod, parrying the Rasengan with a resounding shockwave that sent cracked spider webbing through the stone beneath them. The force of the clash sent Naruto skidding back, but he immediately dug his heels in, forming a barrage of shadow clones. They surged forward, a golden tide of fists and kunai, forcing Obito to flicker between solid and intangible states. Yet the Uchiha was relentless, weaving hand signs before exhaling a searing fireball that engulfed half the clones in a blazing inferno. Sasuke seized the opening, his left eye bleeding as he activated Amaterasu. Black flames erupted around Obito, but the man twisted space itself, warping the flames harmlessly into Kamui's dimension. "Predictable," Obito taunted, before lunging with his own strike, a chakra-enhanced punch aimed for Sasuke's ribs. Sasuke barely twisted aside, the blow grazing his side as he retaliated with a Chidori, lightning screeching in his palm. The attack connected, electricity crackling through Obito's shoulder, but the masked man barely grunted, his Rinnegan pulsing as he absorbed the remaining chakra. Naruto wasn't idle. He channeled Sage Mode, his senses sharpening as natural energy merged with Kurama's power. His next Rasengan was colossal, a swirling vortex of wind and chakra. "Sage Art, Wind Release Rasen Shuriken," he bellowed, hurling the devastating technique. Obito's eyes widened, he couldn't absorb it fast enough. The explosion engulfed him, the sheer force tearing chunks from the monument and sending debris raining down. Yet as the dust cleared, Obito staggered but remained standing, his body already regenerating. "Persistent," he rasped. "But it won't matter. The infinite Tsukuyomi is absolute." Above them, the blood moon pulsed, its light intensifying. Across the land, people stood frozen, their eyes reflecting the crimson glow as they slipped deeper into the illusion. Naruto gritted his teeth. He couldn't fail, not when the entire world was at stake. Sasuke wiped blood from his lip, his Rinnegan now fully awakened. "We end this now," he said coldly. Naruto nodded. Together, they charged, their power clashing against Obito's in a storm of fire, lightning, and wind. The battle for reality had only just begun. The night sky bled crimson as the infinite Tsukuyomi's glow bathed the battlefield in an eerie, suffocating light. Naruto's breath came in ragged bursts, his muscles screaming from the relentless onslaught, but his resolve burned fiercer than ever. Across the torn earth, Sasuke's Sharingan flickered with exhaustion, yet his stance remained unyielding. The two warriors stood back to back, their enemies closing in, a legion of mind-controlled shinobi, their hollow eyes reflecting the moon's cursed radiance. "We can't hold back anymore," Sasuke muttered, his voice edged with grim determination. Naruto grinned through the pain, his fingers tightening around a freshly formed Rasengan. "Then let's finish this." The first attacker lunged, a kunai aimed for Naruto's throat, but he twisted midair, his foot slamming into the assailant's wrist with a crack. Before the body hit the ground, Sasuke was already moving, his Chidori screeching as it carved through two more opponents. But the horde was endless, their movements synchronized under the Genjutsu's control. Naruto summoned a barrage of shadow clones, each one exploding into smoke as they took it after hit, buying precious seconds. "We need to break their formation," he shouted. Sasuke's Rinnegan pulsed, and with a swift hand sign, he unleashed Amaterasu. Black flames licked across the field, forcing the enemy to scatter. Yet the reprieve was short-lived. A figure descended from above, their chakra a suffocating weight. Madara Uchiha landed with a thunderous impact, his crimson eyes gleaming with amusement. "You fight valiantly, but this world's fate is already sealed." Naruto's fists clenched, Kurama's chakra flaring around him in a fiery cloak. "Like hell it is." He shot forward, a golden blur, his Rasen Shuriken spiraling toward Madara's chest. The Uchiha smirked, effortlessly sidestepping, but Sasuke was already there, his sword slashing downward. Madara blocked with his gunbai, the force sending shockwaves through the earth. The battle escalated into a whirlwind of speed and precision. Naruto weaved through a storm of Susanoo arrows, his clones diverting their trajectories while he charged head-on. Sasuke teleported in and out of space, his strikes calculated to exploit the slightest openings. But Madara was relentless, his limbo clones striking from unseen angles. A phantom fist slammed into Naruto's gut, sending him skidding across the battlefield. Blood trickled from his lips, but he forced himself up, his eyes blazing with defiance. Kurama's voice echoed in his mind, "You're not done yet, kid." With a roar, Naruto's chakra erupted into a towering, nine-tailed avatar, its claws raking toward Madara. Sasuke seized the moment, his perfect Susanoo materializing in a surge of indigo energy. The two titans clashed against Madara's own Susanoo, the impact shaking the heavens. The ground fissured beneath them, and for a heartbeat, the moon's glow dimmed, as if recoiling from their combined might. Madara's laughter rang out, but it was strained. Impressive. But not enough. He raised a hand, the infinite Tsukuyomi's light intensifying. The very air thickened with genjutsu, threatening to drag them under. Naruto felt his limbs grow heavy, his vision blurring, but Sasuke's voice cut through the haze. "Focus. Use our bond." Their hands met, and in that instant, their chakras intertwined, yin and yang, Uchiha and Uzumaki. A radiant sphere of energy blossomed between them, shattering the genjutsu's hold. Madara's eyes widened. Impossible. Naruto and Sasuke surged forward, their final attack a blinding convergence of Rasengan and Chidori. The world erupted in light and sound, the shockwave tearing through the battlefield. When the dust settled, Madara stood motionless, his body flickering like a dying ember. The blood moon above cracked, its light fracturing like glass. Panting, Naruto collapsed to one knee, his body spent but his spirit unbroken. Sasuke staggered beside him, his Sharingan fading. "We did it," Naruto gasped. But as the moon's fragments rained down like crimson tears, a shadow stirred in the distance, a whisper of a greater darkness yet to come. The fight was over. But the war had only just begun. The battlefield trembled as Naruto and Sasuke stood side by side, their breaths ragged, their bodies battered but unbroken. Above them, the blood-weeping moon cast an eerie glow, its crimson light distorting the world into a nightmare of twisted shadows. Madara Uchiha loomed before them, his Rinnegan eyes gleaming with cold triumph, the infinite Tsukuyomi's power surging through him like a tidal wave. "This is the end," he declared, his voice echoing with finality. "The dreamless world will know peace at last." Naruto gritted his teeth, his nine tails chakra flickering like a dying flame. He could feel Kurama's exhaustion, the fox's voice barely a whisper in his mind. "One last push, kid." Sasuke's Sharingan spun wildly, his eternal Mangekyo straining to keep up with Madara's godlike speed. "We can't afford to lose now," Sasuke muttered, his grip tightening on his sword. With a roar, Naruto surged forward, his fist wreathed in blazing orange chakra. Madara countered effortlessly, his black rods materializing to deflect the blow, but Sasuke was already there, his blade slicing through the air with lethal precision. Madara twisted mid-motion, his Rin Sharingan flaring as he warped space itself, sending Sasuke's attack harmlessly past him. Predictable, Madara sneered before slamming a palm into Sasuke's chest, sending him crashing into the earth. Naruto didn't hesitate. He channeled every last ounce of his strength, his Rasengan swelling into a colossal sphere of wind and fire. Sage Art, Super-Tailed Beast Rasen Shuriken. The attack screamed toward Madara, but the Uchiha merely raised a hand, absorbing the technique with his Rinnegan. "Foolish boy," he sighed. "Did you forget I hold all chakra?" But Naruto grinned through the blood on his lips. "No. I didn't." A shadow flickered behind Madara, Sasuke, his Rinnegan ablaze. Amaterasu. Black flames erupted, searing into Madara's back. The Uchiha snarled, his body writhing as the inextinguishable fire consumed him, but even then, his regeneration surged. "You insects refuse to die," he bellowed, his chakra exploding outward in a shockwave that sent both Naruto and Sasuke skidding across the ruined earth. They were at their limit. Naruto's vision blurred, his muscles screaming in protest. Sasuke's left eye had gone dark, his chakra nearly depleted. But as their gazes met, an unspoken understanding passed between them. This was it, the final gamble. Naruto reached deep, deeper than ever before, and felt something answer, not just Kurama, but all the tailed beasts, their voices rising in unison. "We're with you." His body erupted in a radiant glow, his chakra cloak shifting into a form beyond anything he'd ever achieved. Sasuke, too, felt the surge, his Rinnegan pulsating as he tapped into the last reserves of his power. Madara's eyes widened. Impossible. They moved as one. Naruto's fist met Madara's jaw in a detonation of raw energy, while Sasuke's blade pierced his chest, lightning crackling through the steel. The infinite Tsukuyomi's hold wavered, the blood moon's glow flickering like a dying ember. Madara staggered, his godlike confidence finally cracking. "No. This world was meant to be." "Our world," Naruto growled, his voice carrying the weight of every soul fighting beneath them. With a final, earth-shattering blow, he and Sasuke unleashed everything, their hopes, their pain, their unbreakable will. The explosion of light swallowed the battlefield. Silence. Then, sunlight. The blood moon shattered, its fragments dissolving into golden dust. The infinite Tsukuyomi collapsed, its victims awakening from their dreamless slumber. Naruto collapsed to his knees, his body spent, but his heart alight with victory. Sasuke stood beside him, panting, his gaze fixed on the horizon where dawn was breaking. It was over. The aftermath was a world reborn. Villages reunited, old wounds slowly healing. Naruto, now acknowledged as the hero who saved existence itself, found himself not just a legend, but a bridge between nations. Sasuke, his path of vengeance finally behind him, walked a new road, one of atonement, his bond with Naruto reforged stronger than ever. And as the wind carried the echoes of their battle into history, the future stretched before them, bright, uncertain, but alive with possibility.